Before I get into this video, I just want to say at the very end of 2023, I hit 50,000 subscribers. I can't manifest words that would possibly describe how happy it's made me, and it still doesn't feel real. Thank you all so much for the love and support on my channel. But now's not the time for celebration, now's the time for action, and I have a very particular goal in mind. I need you guys, the Shaggers, to band together and help me reach my goal of 115,000 subscribers. Now, it'd obviously be easier to push people towards a nice even 100,000, but I don't want easy, I want to overtake Ben Shapiro's sister. So subscribe to make my brand new and totally arbitrary dream come true. Anyway, onto the video. When I think back to my golden years of gaming as a wee lad, I think Halo Reach, Pokemon White, and the far future baby. This world was the shit. When I was playing through PvZ2 for the first time, the far future was the last world in the game, and as such, it was hard as balls. I know that sounds crazy now with all your insanely overpowered premium plants, but back when I was just Timmy Freepeter, the mechs in this world felt insurmountable. And in fact, I don't think I ever finished this world back in the day. It was too difficult for me. Day 1 shows us exactly why this is the best world. The power tiles are hands down the best world gimmick. Now, I know I said in Lost City that I prefer the world gimmicks that make the worlds harder, and I even complained that the Lost City was too easy because of the sun tiles, but this is a big exception. The sun tiles are powerful in a really boring way, just letting you put more dudes down, and realistically, in life, how many situations have you found yourself in where you thought, man, if only there were more dudes here right now? But power tiles let you make either fun and unique combos of plant food, or just let you rip and tear with satisfying spam. Sure, now it makes levels easier, but that's only because power tiles are the third biggest victim of power creep just after these fellas. Day 2 and we already have our first nuisance of the world. I really don't know why, but I just could not think of what to call the zombies that produce a shield. It totally escaped my mind. I genuinely had to Google what they're called. The shield zombies. The shields these things make aren't too strong, but they're just strong enough to basically invalidate Peanuts. And they don't skimp out on these guys either. Later on, they show up like a lot and they stack their shields. They're gonna be a problem. Day 3 immediately introduces us to 2 new threats. Firstly, the best imps in the entire game. They're not actually that much of a threat, but god, they're so cool. And then we have the flying zombies. These guys are hands down the hardest zombies to deal with in this world. I'm sure a lot of players didn't even notice how crazy these guys are, because they're balanced around the blover, since you're expected to be carrying that thing on you all the time. And the game will just send out like 12 of these guys at once, and the only thing we have to deal with is the Tornat. It's the same issue as the Lost City with the mosquitoes, but even then we have the economy to actually spam Tornats. Now that's just not an option. They skip right over the Cum though, who's my usual counter to anything difficult in this run. And again, I'm not using the Exploder Nut until I absolutely have to. But even then they just fly over the Exploder Nut as well, so he's not even the solution here. That means all I can do is rely on the power tiles, which works for now, but it definitely gets me worried for later. Day 4 is a gimmick level, but check this out. Even though we have a new mechanic that PopCat is very proud of, we still get to pick our own plants instead of being spoon-fed the easiest possible solution out of fears of players maybe being overwhelmed with slightly different gameplay. I don't know. I was never too fond of the exploding sun levels, but they don't push them on you too much. And since we still get to use our own strategy, it does feel like a nice change of pace. I'm telling you guys, far future's on top. Day 5 introduces the Cone Mech. It doesn't really do much, but it is very bulky and it's a nice homage to the Conehead zombie. And just like its design's sake, it's a nice intermediary mechanized threat, which is just perfect coherency between gameplay and visual design. Day 6 is the first level that we don't get to pick our plants, but after what I've gone through in the last 2 worlds, this is fair. In some worlds, I would have had to done 2 or 3 nutless levels by now, and at the very least, I get to use the laser beam. Man, if someone's out there right now working on a beans only run of the game, I bet reaching far future must be an insane jump in power unlocking this guy. If no one ends up doing beans only, that might be something I try. Day 7 is a nice reminder that if you're worried that the power tiles will make this too easy for me, you don't have much to be worried about. This was my first failed level. I got too tangled up dealing with the hulking mass of the cones to deal with the flying piss ants, but after a few more tries we got past it just fine. Day 8 is our first conveyor belt level, my absolute least favourite type of level in the game, but you know what, when they come up this little, they really aren't that bad. In fact, they are a nice little breather. Plus we get to put down the power tiles, which is pretty neat. This is also the first appearance of the Mecha Gargant. This guy was the absolute bane of my existence when I was playing through this as a kid. Taking the ultimate zombie life form and giving it a laser was mind-boggling to me. Actually, now I think of it, are there any other Gargants with special abilities like this? Let me know in the comments if you can think of any. Day 9 is another one of those funny challenges that doesn't let you use any more than 15 plants, but I'd be lucky to get that many in the first place. This level chucks a ridiculous amount of mechs at you, but then gives you the counter to them after you've struggled through the level, which is actually pretty neat level design. I fucking love the EM Peach, by the way. This little stony fella carried me so hard back in the day. I'm sad I can't use it now. I think day 10 might actually be the biggest difficulty spike in the entire game so far. Not that this level's the hardest I've dealt with, but that the introduction of the disco bus makes levels magnitudes harder from now on. These mechs pull up, drop the high functioning Ecstasy Addict squad, eat 100 Ps like they're not even shit, and then suckle on my nuts like the Hoover from Teletubbies. These guys have to be one of the most stacked zombies in the game. Day 11 is a plan your defense stage, and man, it feels like we haven't had one of these in ages. It's a tradition at this point to start these levels off with peanut spam, just to see if it's still viable this late into the game, and surprisingly enough, Peanuts alone swept this level, with a little help from power tiles and lawnmowers. As I was playing through this one though, it really did not look like it was going to work. Day 12 is unreasonably difficult. I love the EM Peach and the Blover, but man, these levels really force your hand into using them. The mechs are far too tanky and spammy for me to keep up with. The Mecha Gargan's also a real pain. He's the first zombie I've dealt with so far that can wreak havoc while taking a load off the gum nut. Luckily, the Gargant lasers don't actually one-shot any nuts, but having a couple of them on screen will start to tear through your nuts like a gold medal paying Olympic athlete. I ran it back many times on this one, but it was obvious from the start that this level was going to require the Explodo Nut. Naturally, Buster Nut is enough to deal with the tough zombies, but he still can't deal with the flying nerds. Day 13 is perhaps the most important level of the entire game so far. This level introduces the All-Star Mech to the roster. A seemingly innocuous zombie at first, how could it be any worse than the Boogie Bus? Its shoveling ability is strong, sure, but we've seen it before and dealt with it just fine. Well, what makes this zombie so unique is that it's the first zombie I've encountered that completely counters the Explodo Nut. There's no way for me to drop this nut on its head and force it to eat it. No matter what, the All-Star Mech will shove the Explodo Nut away without ever triggering it. But you know, this is actually good news to me. I was actually starting to worry that the Explodo Nut would have no counters. The All-Star Mechs single-handedly bring back so much difficulty to this game. Now I can just scum them in place and put an Explodo Nut next to them and hope something triggers it, but that's a huge commitment and straight up not an option if there's multiple on the screen at the same time. Man, I know I keep singing the praises of the far future, but I really love this world. Day 13 is also special for another reason. After beating it, we unlock possibly the most hyped nut in the entire game, the Infinite. I can't even begin to explain my love for this plant. My mind was blown learning about this infinite value nut for the first time. This guy is absolutely joining the sack. That's a group of nuts, by the way. And it appears you guys really agree. I've honestly never seen a poll that skewed. I am just a bit concerned that either the Infinite will completely invalidate the Walnut or vice versa, and the repeat value of the Infinite just isn't as important as the upfront stalling power of the acoustic Walnut. Day 14 was one of the swarmiest levels I've played yet. We must be farming poppies or digging for oil back in this garden because we're barely set up and we're getting hit with air raids and drone strikes. I'm sure this one's pretty easy if you're using the Blover, but without it I'm left scrambling for Tornuts. I actually somehow got to the very end of this level and basically beat it first try, until I noticed at the very end there was a spending limit, and I had just wasted my very last spendable sun. After running it back a few more tries, I decided to put the Infinite on the frontmost power tile, just for a bit of stalling power, but I made a game-changing discovery. I had no idea this thing blocked flying zombies. The Infinite just didn't look that vertically gifted to me. With this interaction in mind, I now understand why Twitch chat was groaning so much when I was explaining that I needed to give up all my lawnmowers just so I could buy some time to set up. Man, I was so worried that the Walnut was going to get completely power crept by the Infinite. But actually it looks like the Tornut's the one that's been outdone. This tangibly challenged chap is 5 Tornuts in one. That is some serious girth. Day 15 was a protection level, which are normally pretty easy for us, and with some very advantageous power tiles, this one was pretty easy. That said, it still did take me an unreasonable amount of attempts because of my senile reaction speed, but the Infinite carried so hard. Day 16 is the second conveyor belt level, but since again there's so few of these and the last couple of levels were so hard, I genuinely, unironically, wholeheartedly enjoyed this level. I got to use the Bonk Choy, which is my girlfriend's favourite plant, and you get to pull off some cool power tile wombo combos. I wish I knew how to be a little more subtle with my unparalleled love for this world, but I can't. The far future is just better. Day 17 is another nutless gimmick level, but again I just don't care because the magnifying grass is just so damn cool. This has to be one of the most underrated plants in the game. Funneling sun through a crystal to mimic burning ants with a magnifying grass is such genuinely inspired design. This is another plant I'd love to see someone try and solo the game with. Day 18 is a sun production level, and I can't believe how long it took me to think about this. I only just recently realised I could just beat the level normally without sunflowers and just stall at the end, which has much more of the nut spirit, you know. At first I got too distracted spinning yarns to my Twitch chat, which has become my new favourite hobby by the way, and forgot to even bring a sunflower. Second attempt, I beat the level in a pretty unconventional manner. Day 19 showed me probably the greatest benefit of running an all nut army that I didn't even know about. I can misclick on the exploding suns with my clumsy, greasy goblin fingers like 10 times, and my carapace coated companions will still be unfazed. Just look at how insane this stalling power is. This has to be like 30 or 40 walnuts worth of HP right here in a single cumnut load. Unreal. Day 20 is another protection level, which brings back another PvZ legend, the Starfruit. This fella has to be a contender for the absolute flimsiest plant in the game. I had to restart this one so many times because the Starfruit would perish to like 2 bites. This was unfortunately another level I just had to bring out the red guy. I'm surprised I've only had to use him a couple times so far. After beating this level, I finally unlocked the premature lawnmower launcher. In every video I get flamed for not using this ability, but that ends now. As long as I remember I actually have access to this ability now. I made Day 21 so much harder than it actually needed to be. It's a sun production level, with a maximum amount of plants you can use. I didn't realise that the plant cap is only on plants on the field and not throughout the whole level, meaning that this extremely difficult level that took me like 7 tries did not need to be this hard at all. And because of this, I didn't stall out the sun production like last time because I didn't even realise it was an option. This one was quite embarrassing on stream. Day 22 is a plan your defense stage, and as always we start off with a bunch of peanuts, but this time featuring an insurmountable, see I do know words that aren't impregnable, layered defense of infinite walls to deal with the flying pricks. A virtually unbeatable strategy that was instantly beaten by one all-star mech that shattered all 4 walls with one shot. Next I decided to spam Explodonauts, which ordinarily wouldn't work, but for some reason every single all-star mech funnels into a single lane, so I can just send one premature mower down that lane. In this one I looked away to read Twitch chat for like 1 second, and when I looked back, the level was over. I really don't know what I did to win this level, it was really difficult, but second try, it just kinda happened. Day 23 gives us 2 restrictions that will never matter in the slightest. I don't know where to slot this little tidbit in organically, so I'm just going to drop it here. I don't know if I was just going crazy, but I swear to God I kept hearing the Simpsons theme in the background music of this world. Like, go and play some far future levels and only pay half attention to the music and see what I mean. It just goes Simpson mode for like 2 seconds. Day 24, the final nuttable level of the world. It's a Sunbomb level, and this one was a joy. There was an entire army of mechs to face, and there's just something so cathartic about blowing up that many mechs with Sunbombs while your nuts hold the line. A simple level, but a great end to a great world. After beating the most fun Zomboss because of wombo combo nonsense, we draw close to another world. I guess it's pretty obvious that this has been my favourite world to play in the challenge. It's just the perfect mix of fun mechanics, cool enemies, and the kind of difficulty that makes you plan out every level but doesn't require you to spend like 4 hours on a single level. There's still a few worlds I haven't played yet, so I can't say it's the best, but at the end of the challenge I'll rank all the worlds and I'll be shocked if this isn't at least top 3. Even though this is one of the worlds I was most excited for, I have a feeling my next one will be the most anticipated one. How will I beat the Dark Ages with no sun? Well, I have a pretty devious plan, but you're going to have to catch me on Twitch if you want to see how I do it, link in description. This world was an absolute delight. Subscribe to help me take down Abigail Shapiro and become the top housewife YouTuber around, and thank you so very much for watching this video. Cheers!